And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
All right, we are back, round two. This is number 2, day 2. Calling this morning coffee. Boy, it's funny how like the camera's backwards and you don't realize, not that it really matters, where the logo's at. A little bit of light. We'll see what happens. You know, it's interesting in here. I got some soft boxes I got to get set up, but I haven't quite got them yet. What is up, Nikki? You guys are in the chat room. You know, I kind of feel like I need to go live on TikTok too because I want to get people over here. The idea is to have more than 1 or 2 people here because if they know that I'm doing this every morning at 5 o'clock, it would be awesome to have it. Cheers to the coffee. We're calling this morning coffee. I got my Superman cup this morning. It's, if you've been in here, I've got a couple things sitting on the desk. You can't. The nice thing about this, and I've thought about this a while, is that you can't really see everything that's going on in here because it's not done yet. But like over there, everything's backwards. There's my bass traps. I have to put them up. I'm struggling with that because if we do have to put the house on the market, then what am I doing? But I've thought about it, and I'm going to do some work in here this weekend because I need to. Like I need to get this thing set up. I don't care. It's going to be set up. I'm going to use it as much as I can if I can. So that's the big thing. I need to just act as if it's not happening because that's what's going to get me through it. You know, we talked yesterday about like just kind of having faith and praying and knowing that things that will happen can happen. And that's kind of where it's at. That's where the struggle is right now. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure that this happens. So I'm going to just real quick here get TikTok live going because I think that maybe there's some people up and see if we can I'd like to get this chat room over here kind of like booming. Yesterday we had CC in here. She's not here right now, but you know, that's understandable. We got Nikki here right now. If you guys don't know Nikki, she writes all the show notes and helps me post all the clips and everything for the podcast. If you haven't checked out this podcast this week, it's really good. I'm going to be posting these on the platform as well. So like I just unedited straight over there. So that is the plan. Sorry, I'm going to get quiet here just for a minute. It's like you run out of room on TikTok. And I should have thought about this before, but we'll put it in there. We'll have it go in 2 different places. Who knows? There's a couple people who do them early in the morning. So one of the things I think about, like, there's always things that kind of motivate me to keep moving, to keep pushing and stuff like that. So I'm always looking for that inspiration in order to figure that out. And I've been, you know, listening to a lot of books because I listen to them. I don't read them. And that is what it is. I just don't have time. Like, I feel like I don't have time it's not that I don't have time. It's that I don't have time. Reading takes an actual sit down and do it. And I'm trying to do everything I can to make that happen. So, and if you can tell, I'm still like early in the morning. This is how my situation is. I end up spending time trying to clean out my sinuses because they're so bad right now. I've got a sore throat, but it's all from drainage in my face. Trying to make that happen. One of the things that we talked about yesterday was listening to music for inspiration, trying to use music to help get motivated. And if you haven't checked it out, Nikki and I, who is on YouTube, over here, we do the motivational music hour, and I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. So we do it every Wednesday at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time is when we start with the undertime, I believe. But it's been inconsistent because I was moving, and I may have to do that again, but we'll see what happens. I need to stop talking like it's going to happen because I honestly want to figure out and say, hey, this is not going to happen. This is where it's at. This is where it's going to be. So I'm going to work on it. So I also like to look at quotes and things like that, which I always thought was weird because a lot of people don't look at quotes, right? But one of the people that I really like, and if you listen to this week's podcast, you'll hear Tatum talk about my daughter, because we talked about some of the stuff that we about like what she thinks success is, and what I try to teach her what success is, because I think that they need to understand that no matter what, it's created by you. Sorry, and I'm moving the TikTok over here because I want these guys to know that if I'm over here, if you can see me on TikTok live, please come join me on YouTube and get in the conversation that's happening over here, because we want to have a bunch of conversations going on, and I want to have them in here because I'm trying to grow this, because I want to get it more. It's monetized, but I want to get it more. I want to get more people involved in what's going on. But John Wooden is one of the people who I listen to. He's a basketball coach. If you don't know who he is, from UCLA. It's funny. I knew who he was because as a physical education teacher when I was going to college, because I don't teach PE anymore. But that's when I figured out who he was. And we moved when I was a kid, and one of my uncles, he was like a really good football player in high school. At least you know, like you have those family members that you look at and you're like, oh man, this guy is like really cool. Like this was my favorite uncle. I'm glitching a bit. Well, it is what it is. That's one thing about living out in the country is you got to use Starlink, and Starlink is funny because it doesn't always come in clear. Although when it's hot, it's hot. Like when the internet is really good, it's really good. But I walked into his den, like when we were kids, it's like, you don't go in there. That's Uncle Bruno's den. You don't go in there. And as you get older, you get to do things that you didn't get to do because you were a young kid and they didn't want you destroying stuff in their place. Like this is my office out here, and you don't. Tatum comes in here, but she comes in here when I invite her in here, right? Same thing with Christine, and so that's kind of the way it is. But anyway, I walked in there and he had a John Wooden book, and again, if you don't know, he's a national champion coach for UCLA basketball. Really good guy, has an awesome bunch of books that are out. And I read a couple of them, and it's pretty crazy. But he has these quotes and he talks about success, and this is where I got my definition, or not my definition, but like I take inspiration from different things, because life is a collaboration, right? Our life is a big collaboration of a whole bunch of things. We never really invented things. We never really created. We create stuff, right? But we do it on our own. But we take inspiration from a whole bunch of places. What's up, Sean? And so that's kind of the thing. So we get our inspiration from a bunch of different places. We kind of combine everyone's works or what they are. So like my work ethic is a reflection of what my dad's was and my mom's was and my grandpa and my grandfather, and then people that inspire me and who I've become is based on what someone else has done, and who they became was based on what someone else had done as well. So it's never like you never really created it. You create who you are based on all these other things that you drag in. We got 3 people here on YouTube Live. So if you guys are over here watching on TikTok, just if you can, come on over to YouTube, because I'm trying to grow this. I want to do this every single morning. It's a morning coffee. We got a conversation going on over there. If you're watching it on Facebook, you can watch it there too. Like it's all over the place, but you can comment wherever you want about it. So with John Wooden, if you don't know who he is, you love UCLA basketball or not, whatever you prefer. It doesn't matter. People say things. I was watching some videos this morning on TikTok as I was getting ready to do this, and if you guys haven't followed Meep or Cupcake Dude, or he's gone by a couple different things, you'll know that he just posted a video and he was talking. Someone's like, I have to unfollow you because you're talking about politics, and I've lost that. I can't do that. Like I'm done with this. And I think that's where we're at. Like in life, this sounds a really simple explanation of what that is. Like UCLA, USC, like I don't like USC. I don't like UCLA. Like I can't like those teams because I don't agree with this, or I can't agree with that. And it's kind of like the political commentary. It's like, I don't like Trump. I don't like Biden. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like left. I don't like right. And I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking in general. So you can't listen to someone else's opinion anymore, because if you do, then, and you disagree with them, then they're not right, and you're right, and forget it. And I can't be friends with them. And he handled it very, with a lot of great candor this morning when he was like, I'm sorry. I understand that you can't do that. And if I'm talking about something you don't like, that's kind of the problem with this world right now, is we can't talk about that. So, like with sports, I watched the San Francisco Giants they're my favorite team for a long time. And if you watch baseball, you know that last night, Bruce Bochy, the coach for the Texas Rangers, is going to the World Series in his first year as a coach of the Texas Rangers. Well, the Giants fired him, or not fired him. They basically did fire him. They let him retire because they thought that it was time to move on to Kapler, right? So they move on to Kapler, and I dislike a lot of things about that guy. But I got behind him and I supported him because he is the coach of the team. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I want Bochy to succeed. So I'm so happy that he's going there to the World Series, because it's great that he's able to move forward and show that what he believes in isn't wrong. It still works. And it doesn't mean that what Kapler did was wrong and didn't work, but it just wasn't the same. And so that's the hard part. Like, sometimes we have to get behind things we don't like. When I was growing up, and now even so, it's like the president is the president, right? Love him or hate him, he was a person of respect. So if you didn't like Trump, you didn't like what he did, he was the leader of your country. So he's the person that you respect. So being president was something you respect. We lost that, right? Same thing with Biden. It's like, if you don't like him, you don't like him, but you have to, it's a term of respect. That's a place where you need to respect someone. So anyway, I feel like that's a rambling long way to get to what I'm about to say, but Wooden, love him or hate him, like what he did or don't like what he did, what he really demanded was that people did the best that they could no matter what. And that he has a pyramid of success that he talks about a lot. And success comes from, this is something straight from that. Success comes from knowing that you were the best to become the best that you can. Success comes from knowing that you did your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. And I think that that's what we get lost on, is that we think just because we didn't succeed that we didn't do the best that we could. And my friend Jay had this conversation a couple of days ago when we were talking about, like, anyone can do anything. Because I'm a salesman right now as a PE teacher. Within reason, I feel that anyone could do anything. That's the thing. Like, there are certain things that you cannot do, right? But if you attempt to do it, you could do it. What if someone told Jim Abbott, and if you follow baseball, or you know who Jim Abbott is, and you followed baseball, and Jim Abbott is a one-arm pitcher, right? Like, he had one arm, and someone told him, you'll never be a pitcher. You can't do it. What happened with Jim Abbott? Dude hit a home run with one arm. Dude threw a no-hitter. He had a very successful baseball career with one arm. So, but, that doesn't mean that everyone can do that. But when there's a will, there's a way. Like, there's a way to do it if you're willing to put in the work. And that's where I'm at right now, trying to figure out the best way to put in the work to make it happen. And that's why I'm thinking, here we are doing this. We're trying to grow this YouTube channel. The people are joining us over on TikTok. I appreciate you over there tapping it. We're at 135 likes on TikTok because, I'm sitting here talking to YouTube. But if you want to come join on YouTube, get in the conversation, I'm trying to grow that space over there so that we can get more people in there, and you can comment it. And that's where it's at, because this is where I'm trying to push the growth. And I have a lot of good growth, a lot of great followers, a lot of people who are, thanks for liking over there. This is Marie, appreciate it. I have a lot of great people over on TikTok that support me or are here for me, and just trying to push it over in this direction, because this is where the long form videos go. This is where the podcast goes. And it's one of those things. What's going on, Tasman over on TikTok, hanging out. So we're doing a YouTube live, like I said. And that's what we're trying to do. So this will go on the podcast as well. I'm not editing this stuff. I'm just dropping it on there. So the regular episodes go out every Monday, and I had a really great one with my daughter. But there's a lot of things that Wooden says that just kind of move me on. We're calling this morning coffee over on YouTube. I got my Superman cup, drinking my Warriors collection coffee. If you guys haven't had that, you go check that out. Warrior at warriorscollection.com, and you can use hashtag SWC at checkout and get a discount on the coffee club. Great deal. But yeah, I mean, here are some of the things that he says, and I'm just going to run through these real quick. You become more concerned with your character than your reputation because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. That's the truth. And I think that I'm a great person of character, and I think that you should do a good dive into character and what that means to you. And that's basically, to me, it's like having integrity, being able to do the right thing when no one's looking. I think a lot of people don't do that anymore. It's like, oh, no one sees it, so it's okay, right? If you don't have time to do it right, when will you have time to do it over? Pretty good, right? Like, these are things that Wooden said. It's like, if you don't have time to do it right, you're going to do it half-assed, right? You're not going to do it right the first time. And then what do you have to do? You have to probably go back and do it again, because now you got to do it twice. And we don't want to do it twice. We want to do it one time, although that may not happen. And just because you didn't do it right the first time doesn't mean you can't do it a second time. All right. If you don't, or make each day your masterpiece, right? So how do you make each day your masterpiece? The funny thing about these is there's these things like happen over and over again. So if you do the best that you're capable, your day is a masterpiece, right? This one's pretty easy. Never lie, never cheat, never steal. Pretty simple. I think if you cheat at something and you win and you think that is great, like, I mean, how can you be happy with yourself if you knew that you had to cheat, if you couldn't follow the rules to do it? And there's a lot of people who are okay with that. I'm not. It drives me crazy. Nothing will work unless you do. This podcast is a great example of that. Nothing will work unless you do. I can't have, I was listening to Ed Milet the other day, and he was talking about a piñata and the things that you can do with a piñata, right? You're a kid, right? And you're thinking, like, the prize is what when you have a piñata? It's a candy. So you're beating this piñata, and as simple as it sounds, with a stick to get the candy out, right? That's what we're doing. And the first person who swings that thing very rarely is the person who gets the candy out. Get up there, you take a few whacks at it, nothing happens. Next person gets up there, takes a few whacks, nothing happens. Next person. Well, what happens if you stop and you're like, this thing is never going to break open? Then you never get the candy, right? You never know what hit on that piñata it's going to take. And so you have to do the work, right? Because it could be the very next swing that gets you your prize. Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. That's a tough pill to swallow, right? So you have the choice to make the best of the way that things turn out, right? You have that option. Jinzo joined us over on TikTok. You have the choice to make the best of whatever it is, right? You can stew in it. You can get upset about it. You can just say, screw it, and just live with it. Or you can try and make the best of what you have, of the bad situation. I'm going through that right now. I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation. I'm trying to do everything I can to make it work, right? And so I can take a look at this and I can just sit there and woe is me and just hope that things happen and hope that anything's going to happen. Or you can do the work and figure a way out. And I think that that's always a tough thing because, like, what can you do to figure that way out, right? But there's a way. And if you go back to nothing will work unless you do, it's pretty simple. These are all quotes from John Wooden, great guy. Again, if you're on TikTok, please come over and subscribe to YouTube. Come hang out, get in the conversation over here. I would like to get you over here so that we can have a good conversation going. This is funny because it's not funny. This is a great one right here. Talent is God-given. Be humble. Fame is man-given. Be grateful. Conceit is self-given. Be careful. So talent is God-given. So just, if you think about it in those terms, your talent isn't from you, right? And that goes back to anyone can do anything. Like, talent is something that you develop. Talent is something that you build, right? So you should be humble about that, because talent is not, it's not something that, that you just develop, right? Like, it's given to you. You look at people who play sports and things like that. I was not good at football because I did the work, but there was a little bit of talent there too that helped me to be able to stick in there and do it, right? Fame is man-given, right? So you become famous, and it was funny because on the podcast this week, I was talking to Tatum, and she's like, "You're famous." And I'm like, "How am I famous? I'm not famous. I'm famous to her," which is cute because, she's my daughter and she looks up to me. But she thinks that people who have podcasts are famous. Well, there are some people who have podcasts who are famous, but like, look at Joe Rogan. How did he get famous? Other people noticed him, right? So it's man-given, okay? Be grateful. Conceit is self-given. Be careful. So there's not a whole lot there. I don't believe that there is anything wrong with being cocky or being conceited. If you didn't know what conceited means, but I think it's one of those things where you have to understand how good you are at something that you do, but along with what we were talking about on the podcast with Tatum, you don't have to brag about it. Let your work do the talking. And that was something that my father taught me when I was little, because I was pretty good. But if you go out there and go, "I knocked that guy on his butt, and I'm this and I'm that, and I'm blah, 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 blah," next thing you know, you're going to get knocked on your butt. And you're going to look really stupid for doing it. So just go out there and do the best you can no matter what. And don't brag about it. A couple more of these and then we'll get out of here because, well, my cup is almost empty. Hal's joined us over on TikTok. If you guys are on TikTok, it's here, but I'm talking over here on YouTube, and we've got a good conversation going on in the chat room over on YouTube. So we'd love to get that thing going. This is one that I've tried really hard to work on, and it's hard when other people take and they push you in a different direction, because I think that we are all in competition with other people, and it's easy to go down that rabbit hole when someone else is beating you at something. And it goes back to the fairness, right? Like for me, like the fairness is really important. And I think that a lot of times when you're playing a game with someone and you're trying to win and you find out that they have this unfair advantage, like it's one thing for me if it's like you versus me, skill versus talent, talent versus talent, whatever that is, like people are going to be better than you. There's different advantages that they have. And my job is to outwork you. And if I can't outwork you, then there has to be parameters of like, I'm in the game, I'm following the rules, you should follow the rules too. And so the best competition I have is against myself to become better. And I think that having faith is one of those things where you have to learn to be able to have faith in your abilities and understand, like I sometimes have to take my own advice, and I'm thinking about this as I'm working through it in my head right now. But my next best competition never follows the rules. So I can't control that because that's not in my control. I can try and control it, which I've tried to do for many years. It's like, hey, this isn't fair. This is happening. But the person who is laying down the rules doesn't really care, right? So if they don't care, then what can I do? I can just do my job better. I can work with what I have, and I can do what I have and do what I can do and control what I can control. So if I compete with myself, then the control is in my hands, right? But if I'm competing with someone else who's not following the rules, I can't control them, but I can control how I do the job, and I can control how I react to it. Very important. And if you can learn to compete with yourself, you're going to win every single time. So that's one of the things is like, if you're just being better than you were yesterday for yourself, you're going to win. Whatever you do in life, surround yourself with smart people who will argue with you. That's a tough one, right? Surround yourself with smart people who will argue with you. Why do you think that's important? And to me, if I surround myself with smart people who will argue with me, what am I doing? I'm allowing people to make me think. And it doesn't mean that I have to believe. And this goes along the lines with a lot of other things, right? It is difficult to do, Nikki, you're right. Again, you can join us at the chat over on YouTube if you want. Please subscribe, come hang out. There's a chat box over here if you're on TikTok watching this. But surround yourself with smart people who will argue with you. It's hard because we all have these opinions, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're right or wrong. My friend Jay had just went through this thing where someone had beasted out on him. What's Up, Saluting Marine has joined us on YouTube. Thank you very much. The people have someone had told him that he was a libtard. And if you know Jay, you know that, whatever he is, it doesn't really matter, but that's not what he is. He is a person who questions both sides, which is what is great about him is he challenges me every time I have a thought and I talk to him about things. He challenges me to think of it on the other side. So I know that if I come to him with, hey, this is what I'm going to do, he comes back at me with, well, what about this? And that allows me to make an informed decision because I know that I can bounce that off of him. And I've decided that I'm going to talk to a bunch of different people. I bought an ATV, 6-7 months ago. And when I bought that thing, I was talking about different brands and which one's the best one. So I called my father. I called my friend Chuck Scott, who works at the ATV dealership. I talked to my little brother about it. I talked to a bunch of people that I knew that had an ATV and asked them, what's the best one to buy? And I got a bunch of different answers. But I took the information that I had and then I made the decision that I wanted to make. And so that is what I did. And so you can make that informed decision based on having all the information you need at hand. But if you're just making it with the information that you want to hear, then it doesn't always work out. So remember that. So people need to argue with you, or not even argue, but be able to have a conversation of differing opinions to be able to make the correct, choice. And this is the last one we're going to close with here because it's a funny one. As soon as I saw this, I started thinking in my mind how this world is today. Young people need models, not critics. And that same thing that we talked about is like not being boastful, not being conceited. Being a role model means that you are showing people and through your work how you do it, right? And so if all you're doing is telling them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, but you're doing that, it's a completely different thing. And I'll end this with this story, okay? I went to college to become a physical education teacher, okay? When I went into college, I had lost a bunch of weight. I was doing really well with eating and exercise and all that stuff. And I was about 220, 230 pounds, okay? I bounced my weight back and forth all over the place. When I was a PE teacher, my thing was that I was trying to be a high school teacher because I knew that I didn't really want to work with little kids and help them develop the skills. I just wanted to polish the skills. And I knew that teaching, elementary, you're like, kids can half the time not even walk or bump a balloon or shoot a basket because they don't know how to. And PE, physical education, to me is not really about sports. And this is the kind of teacher I was. And my philosophy was that you need to do things that you're going to do daily, right? Like you need to learn how to exercise because exercise is something that is important for you. Now you can get exercise in a bunch of different ways, but a lot of kids that I went to school with hated PE because they weren't good at sports. They weren't good at shooting baskets. They weren't good at throwing a football, catching a baseball. They weren't good at those things, but that's what you think of when you think of physical education. And so I sat there and I thought about it over and over again. And I thought, I wish someone showed me how to exercise, because I took PE when I was a freshman in high school, and I took the sports class, I was doing all those things, but the weight training class was the one that I got the most out of because it was making me better at the sports. So I wanted kids to be able to exercise. And here in Idaho, I would look at the different schools, and then at Rocky Mountain High School, they had fitness. So that's where I student taught. Fitness was my philosophy because I didn't learn how to do that. Now I went into teaching the first year and I had gained a bunch of weight back, and I was probably like 350 pounds. And I'm a big guy, 6'3". Didn't look like I was 350 pounds, but here I am telling these little middle school kids that they have to be active and they have to exercise and they have to run and they have to do these fitness tests and all that stuff. And I can't do it myself. And I thought that was not very good. What kind of role model am I that I'm not in great shape and I can't do the things that I'm asking these kids to do? So again, I've struggled with my weight a lot, and I've gone on diets and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I've maintained where I'm at for a very long time. I mean, I've lost some weight recently, but I've kept it under 300 for a long time. And, but when I was at 300, I was struggling. Like, I was trying to figure out what's the best thing for me to do. And people may judge this, but I went and had gastric sleeve surgery because it helped me to stop eating as much as I needed to. It's a tool. It's not an easy way out, which a lot of people say, well, that was the easy way out. Well, it's not, because you have to force yourself, and it gives you a good start and a good push on trying to eat healthy and be better. And so anyway, I lost the weight. I started being able to do the things that they could do, and telling them that they can do it, and being able to demonstrate those things because I was in better shape and I was able to do that. And I had a very hard time with my head because I was talking to myself over and over again going, I can't tell these kids to do this when I can't do that. So be a good role model. We need people to show you, not talk about it. Like, I can't sit there and talk about, hey, you need to be healthy, but I'm not I can't show it. Like, I'm not the person who is healthy. You're looking at me going, this is just a big fat guy. He can't do that. So that was something that I struggled with. It was a tough thing. So that's right. So question both sides and think outside the box. But coffee's gone. Gone now. I got to roll out. I need to go get ready for the day. I have work to do. And I plan on doing this every day. So we've got Nikki and the Saluting Marine in the house. We got you people over on TikTok. If you have not, if you're sitting over here in TikTok, looks like we've got 3 people. Head over to Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley on YouTube. Join that. We're going to do this every single day. Get in on the conversation over here on YouTube. I appreciate you guys listening on TikTok. I want to do this every day. I want to grow this. I want to make this big. If you haven't got a chance to go listen to the podcast, go check it out. I interviewed my daughter. It was really fun. It was in here. We're working on that. We want to get it better. And super excited to do that. If you were in the Treasure Valley, I'm throwing this out here because I do sell window coverings during the day. Hit me up, DM me, whatever. I'd love to help you get your windows covered if you're looking for shades or blinds or exterior shades and things like that. You can give me a call, 208-850-0558. If you're looking for any Shaping Success merchandise, it's here. Join the Patreon. Nikki the Bacon Lover is one of my Patreons. For as little as $3 a month, you can help support the show, help it grow, help me get the things in here that I need to build this thing out. I got a lot of it, but I need some more. So until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.